So welcome back to Darvanalee Design Studio. My name's Nicole Reed and this series is Quilting Basics, and this is number 3, and we're looking at our sewing machine today. So as you can see, I've got mine actually set up at the moment with my 1/4 inch foot on that, and that's ready to go for any sort of patchworking. But I've finished doing my patchworking and now I want to actually quilt my quilt. So what do I actually need on my machine? Well, the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to have to make sure that your feed dogs drop down. So I'm just going to remove my toolbox from my machine, which just slides off. And you can see just here there is what looks like little mountain peaks. One's going up and one's going down, and there's a little lever underneath here that I can move. If you just watch up here, you'll see that when I change it to them being down, they'll disappear. So what this means now is that I can have a piece of I can have a quilt, and I'll just use a small piece of fabric here just to demonstrate. So I can now move this around, whereas if I've got the feed dogs up, and they should just have engaged back up now, there we go, I won't be able to move I can still move it, but not as freely as I can. You can feel it grabbing on there, and when the machine's going, that will be grabbing the fabric. So I want to make sure that my feed dogs can go down. Take that foot off so it just comes undone just like that. And most machines are the same. Now, your basic machines will probably not have the capability for you to have the feed dogs go down, but they usually come with some sort of plate to go over the feed dogs, so you can still quilt on a basic machine. Alright, so I've taken those off, and now what I'm going to do is actually attach my quilting foot. So we discussed the quilting foot in our last video in episode 2, and this is what mine looks like, and yours might be fully closed in, or it might have a metal circle. It can be, most machines are very similar, but they do vary in what they look like. Alrighty, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this on, and my machine, the bit that the shank normally goes onto actually slides into this, so I basically just pop that on like so. Get my walking foot out of the way because it's got a built-in walking foot. Okay, so you can see here that it's gone onto that shank, and then I just grab the screw and I put that in, and you want to make sure that this is tight, but not so tight that you thread it. Okay. And that little metal bit that we discussed last week is above this piece here, so you can see that's where you change your needle, it goes above that. Alright, so I'll just give that a little bit of a tighten. Okay, so you can see now I've got that on and it's opened at the front, so it's like a little horseshoe. My feed dogs are dropped down. I'll just move the camera around so you can get a better angle of that. And now if I put my presser foot down in the down position, you can see here that the hopper foot doesn't actually go all the way down onto the plate. So that means that when I'm stitching away, my needle will be going up and down, and I can still move the quilt through nice and freely. So that's what you sort of want to have on your machine. You definitely want to have it so your feed dogs can go down. Now they're not always at the front, just on this particular machine, which is the Singer Quantum L500. They're just underneath where my toolbox is. So the other things that you might want to look at having on your machine are as follows. A needle in the up and down position. So when I'm quilting, I like to have my needle when I stop in the down position, and that way I don't have to worry about lining up my quilting spots or anything like that if I've stopped. So basically it stops with the in the down position, and then I know that when I start up again I'm going to be lining up perfectly from where I stopped. I also have a stop start, so when I start stitching, this will do like a little lock off stitch, and then it'll continue on. So I always press that when I start, and I press it when I finish as well. I also don't necessarily have to use my foot pedal either. You can see there it just starts, and I can stop that, and basically I only use that. I use that very rarely. Generally when I'm doing a lot of quilting, I'll use that because it's just easier to do that because I can just hit it with my finger and it stops, or it starts. And I also still have the presser foot, because as soon as I touch the presser foot, it'll actually disengage this and start using the foot controller as well. Okay, so I also like to have my thread snips on my machines. It's not necessary, but when you start getting up into the higher end machines, they do have that, and I like to have that. The other thing I like to have on a machine for quilters is the speed control. So starting fast or slow, I like to have that on there for beginners, and I usually set it between slow and midway, and that gives them a really good pace to practice at, and then as they get better we speed that up a little bit for them. Other than that, I don't really need to have much more on my machine to do quilting. That is just for basic quilting, and that's what I like to have. The other thing that you will find on some of your other machines that are meant for quilting is the pressure plate here. So this adjusts, as you can see there, it's got a little presser foot, and this adjusts the amount of pressure that is put down on your presser foot. That I mostly have sitting where it is right now. That's basically how I got it out of the factory. I don't feel the need to play around with that at all. And then each machine is different for where their tension and everything is. Mine is over here on my control panel, so I've got my tensions and I've got my stitch length and all that sort of stuff. And for quilting, the basic rule of thumb is approximately 11 to 12 stitches per inch is what you want to go for. So you can just have a bit of a play around with that and see how you go. I often say to my students to practice on your little pot holders and stuff like that, to practice your free motion. That's always a good place to start, and you can get a lot of success with that. And if it doesn't work out, well, you've got something functional and you can always just use it in your kitchen. Okay, so the other thing I like to have, and you can get these specially made, or some machines actually come with them. My machine actually come with it, and that's this workstation here. It just makes it a little bit easier for maneuvering the quilt through. It gives you a little bit more of a platform and you're not having to struggle with it so much. But as I said, I use my long arm machine for my bigger quilts, and I generally only do mini quilts on my small machine, but the principles are still the same. Okay, so I really hope that you enjoyed this Quilting Basics video on what you need on your machine. Again, you definitely need to have your feed dogs go down, but if you do have a basic machine, have a look in your toolbox. There's usually a little black plate about yay big that will sit over your feed dogs that has a little slit in the center where the needle can go up and down, and basically you can actually do your quilts on there as well. So if you're going out to buy a machine and you want something like what I've got here, it's the Singer Quantum L500. It's a good machine. I've had this for several years now, and it's not let me down ever. I find it a very good machine, but it's all up to the individual's opinion at the end of the day. There are many good machines out there. If you like this video today, give us a thumbs up down below, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it, and as always, we love to hear from you, so leave us a comment down below. And for those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reid for Darvanalee Design Studio, and this is Quilting Basics, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye for now.